Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again on YouTube channel of Unacademy, India's largest online learning platform for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam Malkani. I'm again live with yet another session on vocabulary. I have been taking sessions on vocabulary building for CAT and other management exams. We did words with root, and we did words with various pictures. Today, again, I'm going to teach you some words with different pictures and images. Let's get started. But before that, for those of you who are attending my session for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Neelam Malkani. I possess around 12 years of experience in test preparation industry, and I have trained the aspirants of CAT, GRE, GMAT, CLAT, IELTS, TOEFL. I handle verbal reasoning and English section of these exams. I have also set and designed assessment papers for different professional bodies as well as for government bodies of various states. I have also served as an examiner of English for an international organization for which I assist the proficiency of writing and speaking of those who are taking this exam. Recently, I have authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. The book is written in both Hindi and English. Now, as I said, this video is presented to you by India's largest online learning platform, Unacademy. So let me take you to its portal and tell you how you can be part of this learning revolution. You have to go in the Play Store of your mobile phone and download Unacademy Learning app. You will be shown two versions of the app. You have to download Learning app. After you fill in all the details, you will be shown different products or services which are offered by Unacademy Learning app. So the category is Plus, free courses and special classes. You have to go in the category of Plus if you want to attend classes with CAT. When you go in that category, you will be shown all the courses which are offered under Plus category, such as CAT, GRE, IELTS, CACS. When you choose CAT, then you will be shown all the features which you will be getting once you opt for the course. 30 hours of live sessions every day, right? So as per your convenience, as per your choice, or as per your availability, you can choose these sessions. You can enroll yourself for these courses and attend classes as per your convenience. So 30 hours of live session delivered every day. These live sessions are delivered by top educators, 14 plus top educators of India who possess extensive experience of training and mentoring students for these exams. These courses which are delivered by these educators are well structured and well designed by those people who have extensive experience of designing curriculum and module. Every month a new course is published which you can attend and enroll and attend the classes, right? When you go and choose the subscription, you will be shown all the models of subscription. If you want to attend classes for a month only, if you are specifically aiming at CAT 2020, you can choose the subscription of 1 month. Then you can choose the subscription of 3 months if you want to prepare for other management exams which are happening in January. If you want to go for yearly subscription, you can go for yearly subscription, right? So as per your needs and requirements, these models of subscription have been devised by Unacademy. All right. If you want to avail 10% further discount on whichever subscription you choose, you have to type code NeelamMa'am, right? So you will be given 10% discount if you type this code. Now let me give you a very important piece of information. Unacademy is organizing a national scholarship test for CAT. The test is going to be divided into all the subsections: quantitative aptitude, verbal ability, and logical reasoning. The test is going to be on the pattern of CAT, right? So you take the test, you will get to know about your preparedness for this exam this year. Second, you will also get to know about your position on all India level, because the test is going to be taken students across India, right? So ultimately your ranking is going to be measured on the basis of your performance vis-a-vis the performance of students taking exam all India. So here you will get to know about your ranking, about your performance, and then you will have to take corrective action. Each section is going to be analyzed later on by an expert faculty. All right, so you will get to know about your mistakes and what you need to do to avoid those mistakes in next test session. These tests have been started from 18th of October, and the test is going to be taken every Sunday, right? So come and enroll yourself for this scholarship test and see where you stand in terms of your preparation. All right, now let's start with today's agenda, that is vocabulary with pictures. But before that, I took a session on pictures on Saturday, right? So let me take a quick revision of those words and let me see how much you have understood those words with the picture, how effective it was to understand those words with pictures. So very quickly, the first word that we did in the last session was abdicate. Abdicate is to renounce, is to give up. If you remember, the picture was of a pope leaving his chair, departing from his chair. So that is giving up his title, giving up his authority or privilege. Abate, another word where a graph was shown which was coming down. So abate is to diminish, to come down or to decrease. Penury, a picture of a woman with 4 children in extremely poor condition, right? They did not have clothes to wear, they did not have food to eat, and they were standing in a very dilapidated condition. So that is what penury is. So penury is poverty, destitution, or indigence. We did a couple of synonyms. Sycophant, do you remember the picture of a man touching the boot of a person who was in authority, who was in the position of authority, right? So he was supposedly his boss and he was touching his feet. So a person who crawls at abject humility. So that is sycophant. Sycophant is synonymous with toady. Ascetic, the picture of a sadhu, right? Living in isolation. So ascetic is somebody who lives in isolation, who lives with bare minimum things. Ascetic is nothing but a hermit. Juggle. Remember the picture of a woman doing multiple odd jobs at the same time, holding a baby, cooking food, reading, working on computer as well, right? So all these tasks performed at the same time. So juggle is, doing multitasking, when you perform different things at the same time. Addiction is compulsion. Addiction, remember the picture, Facebook addiction for sure. Adjacent is to next to. So adjacent is something which is next to something, close to something. Adage is a proverb. An adage is a proverb or a common saying which reflects wisdom. Ablution is cleaning before performing ritual rites or before performing religious rituals, right? So that is ablution. Disavow is to deny. To animals pointing fingers at each other, right? So they were not accepting their responsibility. They were passing the duck on each other. So that is disavow. So disavow is to deny that you have done something or you hold any responsibility or you are responsible for something. Abscond is a fugitive. Absconder is a fugitive, a person who is still at large, who is running from law, who is running from police or law enforcement agencies because he has done something wrong or he has committed a crime. Abyss is a hole which doesn't seem to have any bottom. A bottomless hole is abyss. From that only we devised an adjective, abysmal. So use abysmal for stating or showing your disapproval for something. Abysmal condition of corona patients in government hospital. Accomplice is somebody who helps you committing a crime. A person who gives you help, suggestion, and all kinds of cooperation to commit a crime. Accrue is to gather something over a period of time. So accumulate is accrue. Acme is the highest point. Perfection. Adorn is to decorate. Remember the picture of a beautiful lady adorning herself with those flowers. So adorn is to beautify. Adorn is to decorate. Admonish is to scold. Scolding at the same time giving somebody warning that this should not be repeated. So that is admonish. Alright, now let's start with today's picture. You see a pleasant looking man, right? With a beautiful smile, shaking hands, having a very friendly demeanor, having positive vibes, right? So people see him as a person who is easy to approach to, who is very likable, who is very agreeable, right? So this picture depicts all these characteristics, all these positive attributes, right? So the person is an affable man. The word is affable. So it's pleasant, friendly, and easy to talk to. A person who is agreeable, a person who is easy to approach to, right? So that is what is affable. Affable personality, affable demeanor, affable smile. All right? He greeted everyone in the same relaxed and affable manner, right? So look at the man, he is greeting another man in such an affable fashion, right? So he is an affable man. Her grandfather has always been the most affable man around, right? So here his grandfather was a person who was easy to talk to, easy to have conversation with, a person who was agreeable, right? The affable manager helped to ease the frustration of the disappointed customers. So on some issue, the customers were disappointed, but the manager was very affable with his pleasing personality, with his cheerful attitude. He tried to ease those angry customers, right? So since manager was affable, that means he was friendly, right? So the words which are synonymous with affable are amiable. You call somebody amiable, which who has same kind of personality, friendly, pleasing, approachable, agreeable. Genial is also same. Congenial is also same. Cordial is also same. Right? So you work in a cordial atmosphere with your colleagues. You try to forge a cordial relationship with your colleagues and with your co-workers. Cordial is to have friendly relationship, right? So congenial, congeniality. So everybody wants to work in a congenial environment where they can be more productive, they can feel more positive. So congeniality. People prefer congeniality in their friends. So that means easy to approach to somebody who is very stiff, or somebody who is very angry, or somebody who is very always frustrating is not possibly a person who people would like to be friends with, right? So congenial, genial, all these words are synonymous with affable. All right. Now, since I have been taking those words which are often confusing, so whenever I took a vocabulary session, I always gave you a clear distinction between those words which are homophones or homonyms, right? So here there is another word which is very closely related with amiable. So you have amiable and then same time you have amicable. So this is very confusing set of words which often perplex users as to which word to use in a specific sentence. So amiable is used for a person, right? So it's a personality trait of a person. It's a kind of word which can define a specific person. Whereas amicable characterizes things. So amicable, amiable both mean same, friendly, cheerful. But amicable is largely used for things which are done in a friendly way, right? So the solution or the problem was solved in an amicable way. So here amicable is used for solution, right? So they came to an amicable solution of their disagreement. Solution was amicable, right? The meeting happened in a very amicable environment. So environment is amicable. The manager is amiable, but the environment in which the meeting was conducted was amicable, right? So their marriage came to an amicable divorce. So here, the divorce was not murky, things did not get ugly, but rather they came to an amicable end. That means, on a friendly note, they parted ways. So that is what is amicable. So an amicable settlement was reached. Here, amicable is coming for settlement. In spite of their disagreement, they parted on amicable terms. So terms are amicable. Pain. It was an amicable divorce. The government and the union managed to reach an amicable settlement. So look at these examples. All are defining things. They are not defining people, only things. You call somebody amiable, but you call something amicable. Alright? So confusing words quite often are given in vocabulary section of different exams. It used to be a part and parcel of CAT as well, until CAT tested vocabulary, it used to be there in verbal section, right? But now you can see these questions being asked in SNAP, ZAT, IFT and other languages. So be wary of their meanings, right? So the subtle distinctions which exist between these two words, you need to be very clear in order to use them in a specific sentence. So amicable, amiable. I hope the meaning is clear, the distinction is clear. The words are synonymous with a fable, right? So congenial and genial. Okay, I would like to take up one more confusing word here with congenial. Now congenial is a fable, friendly. Congenital, which is again with the same root. Congenital is something which is by birth, right? So if you're born with something, if you have a inherent characteristic, that is congenital, right? So congenial is friendly, congenital is by birth. Congenital blindness, that means somebody who's born with that disease, right? Congenital cardiac disease, somebody who has that problem ever since he was born. So congenital, right? We also use congenital for using perpetually. That means it has been happening for a long time, right? So congenial, congenital, another word here which is often confusing. So I hope this is going to make it clearer what these words mean. Affable, friendly, amicable, amiable, both friendly, but amiable used for a person, amicable used for a thing. Congenial, friendly, but congenital since birth. Alright? Now, look at the picture. This man is trying to shape up this pottery in such a meticulous way, right? He seems to be completely engrossed in what he is doing, right? And he is doing it with all great attention and detailing, right? He seems to have all the skills to perform this task, right? That is what is adroit, right? So when you call somebody adroit, the person is skillful. The person has certain set of skills to perform a task extremely well. So that is what is adroit. Alright? So clever and showing skills. So I have taken this picture just to show you that how skillfully he is using his hands and his creative skills to shape up the soil. So here, adroit is a person who is very clever and same time he shows a lot of skills. It was the adroit way to solve the problem. So adroit can be used for a person, adroit can also be used for things. Things which are done in a skillful way. So it was an adroit way to solve the problem, that means it was the most skillful way to address the problem. He felt young, bright and adroit and resolute. So here we are talking about all the positive characteristics that person possesses. He felt young, he felt bright, he felt adroit, as if he has all the skills to perform this task. He had an adroit tongue. That means he speaks cleverly, he speaks skillfully, right? He's very good at speaking, delivering, or stating certain things. So, adroit tongue. So, see, I have taken sentences to give you the shade of difference of the word. The word can be used for thing, the word can be used for people as well. So if you remember, we did etymology. All right, so in etymology, I told you that how words added with suffix and prefix can change the meaning, can have different forms, can have different words altogether. So when you have adroit, right, and you know the meaning of adroit, you have a new word like maladroit. So mal always stands for bad, malediction. So malediction is to curse somebody. Malapropos or malnutrition, right? Malingered. So all these words come with negative connotations, stand for negativity because mal comes from bad, right? You remember malaria, so it's a disease, right? So it can never be good. So MAL stands for bad. Malfunction, not functioning properly. So malfunction. Even if you don't know malapropos or other words, tough words, but you know malfunction, you know malaria, right? So mal stands for bad. So maladroit will come for a person who is absolutely unskilled, right? A person who is incompetent, cannot perform his duties well. Maladroitness of Indian bureaucrats has engendered a lot of problems in Indian bureaucracy or Indian administration. All right, so maladroitness. So maladroit officers, maladroitness of Indian administration. So maladroit will stand for doing something badly or doing something inefficiently, whereas adroit will come for being skillful. So look at synonyms: skillful, adept, dexterous, another very nice word for defining a person's characteristic, where this shows that he's extremely skilled, dexterous surgeon, dexterous dancer, dexterous politician. So anyone who is called dexterous, he possesses superior skills. Deft is another word. A person who is deaf can use his hands or his skills very easily or effortlessly. Agile and nimble. Now, these two words are a bit different from adroit, though it also shows some kinds of skill. But agile and nimble is flexibility of your body, right? So when you have nimble feet, so that means you can perform dance extremely well. Or those verbs which require foot movement, right? So when you have nimble feet, you have nimble finger, right? So when you have nimble finger, you can possibly perform all the tasks which require the application of hands or fingers, right? So nimble finger while sewing something or decorating something or shaping up something like this. So nimble, seen is agile. So agile mind, agility in body, both means flexibility. All right. So a bit different from the adroit, but same time you can group them together because in a way they can be skillful of hands, skillful of body or flexibility of body. All right. So adroit, with adroit we learned maladroit as well. So maladroit comes for incompetent, inefficient, right? But adroit stands for somebody who is extremely skillful. Adept, deft, dexterous, agile and nimble will be synonyms. Alright, so next picture, try to look at the picture carefully and see what it suggests. So there is a girl who is trying to soothe. The man looks upset, the man looks unhappy. He's possibly disappointed about something. The girl is trying to soothe him. Is trying to comfort him. She's trying to comfort him, right? So when you, by your gestures, by your speaking, by doing something nice to someone, when you try to bring down the negative effect of something, or you try to ease someone's negative feeling, you try to allay, right? So the word is allay. She's trying to allay her friend's disappointment, her friend's anger, right? So whatever feeling she's going through, she's trying to address it. She's trying to bring it down, right? So allay is to bring down any negative emotion, feeling or state, all right? So allay something is to make something, especially a feeling, less strong or less severe, right? So he's very angry and possibly since he has her company, his anger, his frustration, his disappointment is going to come down, right? So that is what allay means. To allay fear, right? So we saw our Prime Minister coming on television again and again during this pandemic, during lockdown, to allay fear, to allay our fear, because we had a lot of suspicion, we had a lot of apprehension, right? The situation was not clear to us. So he came again and again on television, addressing entire, nation, to allay the fear, to allay suspicion, to allay our apprehension, right? So allay our concern can also be used here. Elizabeth stood at the piano, which did nothing to allay his anxiety. So she was possibly having a performance and she stood next to the piano, but it did not allay her anxiety. She was feeling extremely anxious before performance. It did nothing to allay her anxiety, right? So allay is to calm down. A lotion of sodium bicarbonate is useful to allay itching. See how this word is actually used in a literal way here. So you have itching, you have some kind of pain, you have some kind of irritation in your skin, and you apply something that is going to bring down the severity of this effect, right? So this is allay. So it is going to allay. You put on some ointment on your skin to allay itching, all right? So this is literal. Other way, the word is used in a figurative way. But nothing could now allay the inextinguishable hatred of the conquered people, right? So here it is used in a figurative way. People have a lot of hatred for each other, right? Nothing can be done to allay their hatred for each other. So it has become implacable, right? So they cannot be turned friends again. All right. So implacable. Remember the word we did in our etymology class. Implacable, a feeling which cannot be turned, against each other. So, but nothing could now allay the hatred of the conquered people. All right. Synonym is lessen, right? So if you apply something, it is going to lessen your pain. If you apply something, it will bring down the effect on your wounds. So lessen, assuage. So assuage your hunger. You eat something to assuage your hunger. So hunger is also a kind of emotion, right? Um, um, Physiological emotion. So assuage, you try to lessen your hunger. You eat something to assuage your hunger, right? So this word, though used in other contexts as well, but for hunger is how this word collocates. Alleviate pain, right? So alleviate comes from root word levity. So levity is to lightness, right? So levitation is lightheartedness, right? And levity is opposite of gravity. So gravity is sticking to the gravitational force. Levity is free from gravitational force. So when you are so light that you start floating in the air, levitate, right? So levity comes from lightheartedness. So alleviate is from that root only. So alleviate is to lighten something, to allay something, to soothe something, to bring down the severity of something, right? To alleviate poverty. So poverty is a problem. So a lot of schemes have been launched to alleviate poverty, all right? Ease is such a common word used for allay, right? So you have allay, lessen, assuage. I told you the context in which assuage is used. You quench your thirst, you assuage your hunger. All right, this is how these two words are used. So you feel extremely thirsty, you drink something potable to quench your thirst. All right, whereas when you feel hungry, you eat something to assuage your hunger. So context, though they are synonyms, yet the context is different. All right, so alleviate is to lighten up something, to bring down something. Ease is to make somebody feel comfortable. All right, so remember the picture. Whenever you see the picture, the word that should come in your mind is allay. She's trying to allay his anger. Okay, so we did this word when we did adroit. All right, so I gave you this word as the synonym of adroit, dexterous. So dexterous is somebody who is extremely skillful, who possesses superior level of skills. Now you have this word, ambidextrous. Now remember Viru Sarist Buddhi of Three Idiots. So the first scene in which the character of Viru Sarist Buddhi is introduced to us, he's writing on the board with both hands, right? So he's writing with both the hands. So we are shown all the characteristics, that how punctual he is and how committed he is, and then how what kind of skills he possesses. So he was shown as an ambidextrous man, ambidextrous teacher, right? So he was using both his hands to write on the board. MB comes for both, basically, right? So when you have words like introvert, extrovert, all right? So introvert is somebody who's shy, timid, cannot express his opinion. Extrovert is just opposite. Extrovert is somebody who is outspoken, candid, loves to be around with people, expresses himself effusively. So that is extrovert. Now, some people are depict both these qualities. They are not extremely introvert, they are not absolutely extrovert. With some people who they are comfortable with, they are extrovert. With strangers, they are introvert. So they are ambivert, right? So this is a word which defines having both the qualities. Sometimes extrovert, sometimes introvert. Usually the way common people are, most of the people are. We cannot be, labeled extrovert or introvert. We are usually ambivert. All right. So ambivert stands for a person who shows both the characteristics. So ambi comes for both, right? So ambidextrous. Dexterous is skillful. Ambidextrous is showing skill with both the hands equally well, right? So able to use the left hand or the right hand equally well is ambidexterity or ambidextrousness. So you see a juggler having both the balls, 2 balls, 3 balls, sometimes 4 balls. He tosses those balls in the air and catch them, right? So that is ambidexterity. You see rings in their hands, so they show all those, they do all the maneuver and they show their skills. So that is also ambidexterity, all right? So he could play the trumpet with either his left or right hand because he was ambidextrous, all right? He could use both his hands to play the trumpet. She could only sign the document with her right hand because she was not ambidextrous, all right? So since she was not able to use her right hand, she could not sign the document. All right, so ambidexterity, ambidextrous, using both the hands skillfully. I gave you a root, ambi, which comes for both. Ambivalent, I gave you the word. Please try to come up with some more words having this root. Okay. So with same root, let's have one more word, one more picture. Now you see a picture of a man having 2 faces. That doesn't mean he is Janus-faced, or that doesn't mean he is deceptive. But he's, having conflicting opinion. He has conflicting thoughts, and he cannot decide which way he should go for, or which way he should choose. Yes and no. He feels agreeable to a point, same time he also wants to refuse that. Yes and no. So, one part of his head says yes, another part says no. So that is, we feel this way on, quite a few issues. So when somebody gets married, especially a girl in your family gets married, so you feel ambivalent. You feel happy because she's going to start her life. You feel happy because she's going to, live the life of her dreams. But you feel sad because the person is no longer going to live with you, right? So if your sister is getting married, you feel ambivalent, right? So you feel happy, but same time you have this, sadness inside you. When somebody gets retired, you feel ambivalent, right? So ambivalent, you feel happy because the person has, done everything for the organization. He has, done beautifully everything which he was supposed to do, and now he's going to enjoy his retirement. At the same time, you feel bad because you can no longer work with that person, see that person, have lunch with that person, or have those funny chatters with that person. So that kind of feeling when you have at such moments is ambivalence, right? So when you have this feeling, you are ambivalent. So ambivalent adjective, ambivalence is a noun, right? So yes and no here does not face two-faced or Janus-faced, but rather the conflicting opinion that person, the state of conflicting opinion this person is facing. So the preposition which is going to be followed by ambivalent is about or towards. So you feel ambivalent about someone or towards someone or something. Having or showing both positive and negative feeling about something. She seems to feel ambivalent about her new job. She seems to like it. She possibly has some reason to dislike it as well. So that is what ambivalent is. She has an ambivalent attitude towards her. So she's not really, she has not really, he has not really formed an opinion, a certain opinion about her. He's still ambivalent about her. Alright? Equivocal. So that's also same word. We did this when we covered root techniques or etymology. Vocal. So equi barabar ki tarah baat karna. Equi, that means you are talking in an equal measure or manner, right? So you're not stating clearly what you feel. You're not stating categorically what you feel about the issue. You're not taking a certain position. So equivocal, barabar ki baat karna, is taraf ki bhi baat karna, is taraf ki bhi baat karna. Being diplomatic, equivocal, the way our politicians speak. Doubtful, uncertain. So these are the words, though they are simple words, yet they are synonymous with ambivalent. You are uncertain because you cannot come to a decision. You're oscillating between two opposite ends. You're doubtful because you're still not certain about what you feel about that issue. All right? Fine. So look at the picture and try to see what it is trying to say. Though the word is given with the picture, yet you can see a man sitting around those people who are using sophisticated technology. Laptop, these sleek laptops. All these people are grumpy. They are having grumpy look on their face because a man among them is using typewriter. Right? A typewriter which is making all these annoying noises. Alright? So you get the picture. The person is using an outdated device. A device which is not in sync with the time. Which is not fitting with the time. With the era. Right? So that is what is anachronistic. Anachronistic ways of war. So if you see somebody in this time, if you see somebody mounting a horse, having a talwar in his hand, that is an anachronistic picture. You don't get to see such warriors anymore. So that is anachronistic picture of a warrior, right? So all wars are being fought on internet now, right? So it's cyber world. So in this cyber world, digital world, all wars are being fought or waged through technology. All right. So a person, a custom, or an idea that seems old-fashioned and does not belong to the present. Right. So the monarchy is seen by many people as an anachronism in the modern world. Right. A lot of people have abolished. A lot of countries have abolished monarchy. They have done away with monarchy system because it does not fit with the democratic values, which are popular in contemporary times. So here monarchy is anachronistic. The typewriter is anachronistic. You see somebody using pager when you are using these top class devices, handheld devices like mobile phones and palm tops and all these devices. You see somebody using pager. So the pager comes as an anachronistic device. The person can also be termed as anachronistic because he has not kept pace with modern technology. Right? Something that is placed, for example, in a book. So that's another meaning. Please look at this. Something that is placed, for example, in a book, play in the wrong period of history. I would like to give you one example of a movie, Indian movie, which can perfectly sums up what anachronistic means. So there is a famous movie of Kundan Shah, Jaane Bhi Do Yaro. Right? So in that movie, Naseeruddin Shah and I don't remember another character's name, actor's name. So they were journalists, right? So in that movie, the climax scenes is shown where Mahabharat scene, Draupadi Haran scene is being depicted on stage. And during that scene, during the enactment of that scene, Akbar comes, right? From, he lands on stage and, he plays certain part there, right? So Mahabharata is depicted and Akbar comes. So here, the character of Akbar is anachronistic to Mahabharata, right? So they are not co-equal, they were not contemporaries. The characters of Mahabharata and Akbar were not contemporary. They did not belong to same era of time or period, right? So that is anachronistic character, all right? Or you see a commercial of McDonald's where Mughal Emperor Akbar comes and he goes to McDonald's and eats a burger and says, I'm loving it, right? So that is also an anachronistic figure because Akbar के time पे McDonald नहीं था, अभी McDonald के time पे we don't have Mughal emperors, all right? So anachronistic, just to give you a sense of what anachronistic means, it is used in two ways: an outdated device, an outdated person who still believes in old ways of doing things. Second, a character or an event which is not there in that period, right? In one of the Shakespeare dramas, dollar has been used, right? Whereas the currency did not have started that time. So that's how anachronistic can be used. In today's computer world, a floppy disk is an anachronism. These days, the habit of introducing yourself to a new neighbor with a welcome gift has become an anachronism, right? Used to be custom, it was followed by a lot of people in a traditional way. They would go to their neighbors, introduce themselves. They would always carry something as a mark of their welcome gift, right? But now, this custom is seen as anachronism. Anachronism because people would like to enjoy their privacy, their space. Soon, physical books will be completely replaced by e-books and will represent nothing more than an anachronism, right? So gradually, now it's actually forecasting that eventually the day is not very far when the books in physical form will be anachronistic because everything is being read on these devices. Everything is available on internet and you can read everything on internet. Soon, these books in physical form will be anachronistic. All right, so figuratively you can use this word in other contexts as well. Fine, so anachronistic, remember this picture using typewriter among all the people who are using their swanky laptops. All right, next word for today is apprehend. So this picture tells everything. A man is being nabbed by police officers, right? So two police officers trying to catch hold of a man who is possibly flouting a rule, violating a law, or trying to run away from these policemen. So they apprehended the man, they nabbed the man. So apprehend is to arrest, to take a hold of someone, usually used by police. To catch somebody and arrest them is to apprehend. So apprehend is different from apprehension, right? So apprehension is your worry, your concern. A lot of people had apprehension about their jobs because of this lockdown, right? So apprehension is concern. Apprehend is to arrest. So apprehension down, apprehend is work. The police apprehended an armed suspect near the scene of the crime. So here they apprehended the man who was at the scene of the crime. The thief was apprehended in the act of stealing a car. So here the police apprehended, that means he was arrested. The man was arrested, he was apprehended. The old-fashioned use of apprehend as a verb is to understand or recognize something. To comprehend, old-fashioned way, apprehend is also used to understand something. So if you see this word coming in an RC or a question, paragraph-based question, being used for understanding something. So this is also another meaning, right? So one apprehend is to arrest someone, second apprehend is to understand, to recognize something. So he was slow to apprehend danger. So he could not understand that some danger was approaching, right? So apprehend has two meanings. One is old-fashioned but still used. All right? Okay. So the word is assiduous, which is used to explain hard-working people. When you see somebody toiling very hard, when you see somebody burning midnight oil, when you see somebody putting in concerted efforts to do something, to excel in doing something. He is assiduous, right? So assiduous is used for hardworking people. It's an adjective defining people. All right. So the assiduous workers finished the job quickly. See how focused they seem, how engrossed they are in the work they are doing or the task they are performing. They seem to be concerned about nothing but their work, right? So here assiduousness is noun, assiduousness shown by these two people help them finish the work quickly. So hardworking, not shirking your responsibility, not dodging your duties, but extremely focused on what you are doing. Working very hard and taking care that everything is done as well as it can be done. That is what assiduous means. Alright? So you try to relate this word with any person you know in your family, in your extended family, in your friend circle, or maybe in your professional group who does everything with extreme hard work, right? Who does not slack, who does not shirk, who does not dodge his responsibility, who does not evade his responsibility, but extremely focused when it comes to discharging his duty, right? So when you see that person, as I said, one of the ways for vocabulary building is to pay compliments to people, right? So when you remember these adjectives, when you learn these adjectives, you acquire the meaning. But when you start using them in your active vocabulary for paying compliments or giving compliments to somebody, the words are going to register in your long-term memory. And same time, you are going to spread positivity. So I hope you have some people in your surrounding who are very hardworking, an assiduous housewife, an assiduous maid, an assiduous businessman, right? So, or you can be assiduous, right? So try to, please yourself by devoting these adjectives to yourself as well, right? So instead of saying I'm very hardworking, you can replace the word and say I'm assiduous, right? See, their assiduous efforts and attention to details, one of the most assiduous members of the team. So in team, there are some people who slack, there are some people who are extremely painstakingly, focused on their work. So assiduous. She was assiduous in her duties, right? So all these sentences to give you the explanation of the word. Synonyms, diligent. So diligent is again a very interesting word, which actually is fusion of two qualities. Diligence, when you call somebody diligent, that means the person is hardworking as well as intelligent. He is brainy, right? He is very perceptive and same time he works very hard, right? So assiduous is hardworking, putting in your hard efforts to bring out the result, to do your work, but diligent is someone who is very intelligent and hardworking, all right? Sedulous, very hardworking. Laborious, a person who does not shirk away from doing any kind of labor. Alright, so all these are, so industrious is another word, I've forgotten that word, but that can also be synonymous with assiduous. So industrious. We have been reading these statements. The ants are most industrious animal, right? So they keep working hard, right? They don't give up. They toil in time and again, and and do or achieve what they want to. So industrious. So laborious, industrious, sedulous, diligent. All synonymous with assiduous. Okay. Right. So a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So you see a girl here holding a reptile in her hands, and she's so close as if she wants to, do something foolhardy. She's putting her life into jeopardy, or she's putting her safety into jeopardy, right? So that is what is audacious. She seems to be an audacious girl, putting her life into jeopardy just for the sake of adrenaline rush. That is audacious, right? So daredevilry is another word used for audaciousness. So daredevilry, that means you do something rashly, you do something impetuously, without giving much thought to it, without thinking much about it. You do something audaciously. So audacious, see, words have their tones, their characteristic, right? So words are not exactly synonymous. So brave is courageous, who shows courage at the time of war, at the time of danger, or at the time of emergency, right? So that is courageous, that's bold, that is brave. But when you call somebody audacious, so that is negative, right? Braveness or the bravery which is uncalled for, usually something which jeopardizes your safety. All right? So, willing to take risks or to do something that shocks people. So, usually you do it because you want to be conspicuous, you want to grab people's attention, right? You want to be in limelight. That is why you do something audaciously, right? You see those people, speeding their cars, speeding their bikes on roads, flouting traffic rules, putting others' life in jeopardy because they want to, grab some eyeballs there. So that is audacious attempt, right? His idea is equal parts ambitious and audacious. So it's bold, it's ambitious, it's aspirational, but at the same time it's also very bold. It was audacious of him to take such action in this situation. So bold, extremely bold, right? So usually word is used in a negative way, but depending on the situation, if you feel that somebody was extremely bold or risky, that can also be used in those situations, this word can also be used. All right. So intrepid, bahadur, courageous, showing your courage. Dauntless is another word, daredevil, foolhardy. So exactly synonymous two words are there, daredevil and foolhardy. Foolhardy because you are doing something rashly, right? So she possibly does not know or is concerned about the consequences of having a reptile so close to her mouth, right? Or she seems so confident that she doesn't seem to be anxious about it at all, right? So that is foolhardy, right? Ignoring the risk, not taking the cognizance of the risk or the consequences. Foolhardy, same as daredevil, right? So those people who take part in adventure sports, they perform daredevilry because they know their life is at stake. They know something deleterious could happen to their body if they take part in it. But they are daredevil. They are daredevil. That means they have audacity to take part in these activities because they want to take risks. Intrepid and dauntless, very positive words, right? So they are used for those people who show bravery and chivalry at the same time, right? So they are very positive words, intrepid and dauntless. Right. Money. All right. So a girl having, grabbing money through their teeth and through her teeth, and same time possibly is looking for more, right? She's anticipating more to come to her way. That is what is avaricious. Another adjective defining greed, greedy attitude, greedy outlook for things. Avaricious. Avarice will be noun, avaricious will be an adjective to define people. Having an extreme desire for wealth, avaricious speculations. He showed, indeed, none of the avaricious tempers so common among the politicians of the time. So usually, politicians are marked by this characteristic. They are full of avarice. They come into power in order to further their own nest. They have some ulterior motive to come into power, right? Very few politicians come with the motive of serving society. Most of the time, they are driven by making money. So here, avariciousness is marked by having extreme greed for money. It can also be for other things. Avariciousness for power, avariciousness for avarice for power, or avarice for fame, right? So she is avaricious. When you use this as an adjective, the person wants that thing badly at any cost. Though probably not personally avaricious, he was justly accused of nepotism, right? So he was not greedy here, but he was accused of nepotism. That means he tried to benefit people of his own family, the people whom he was closely related with. He tried to benefit them by the virtue of his position or by the virtue of powers he had. So that is what avaricious is here, right? He promoted navigation and commerce, but he was avaricious and deceitful. So he did this, but he was deceitful and avaricious. So deceitful is deceptive, it's a person who is cunning, a person who is not honest with you, dishonest, and avaricious is largely. So it's talking about two negative traits this person had. He promoted navigation and commerce, but he did these things. I have been no avaricious oppressor of the people. Here somebody is claiming that he is not greedy, right? He does not have this desire to possess things. Alright? So avarice will be noun, avaricious is adjective. Acquisitive will be a synonym of it. When you try to acquire more and more things, when you try to possess more and more objects, things, materialistic possession, that is acquisitive. Right? So acquire se bana hai acquisitive. People are becoming acquisitive day by day because they want to acquire more and more materialistic wealth. Covetous. So covet is to, covetous desire. So when you long for something badly, you want to have that thing, you want to possess that thing. So covetous, right? So every actor wants to have an Oscar trophy. So it's a covetous trophy. It's a covetous award which every actor wants to possess, right? So it's a covetous. Miss India is a covetous title. So everybody longs. Whoever has aspiration, everybody longs for that, right? So that is covetous. Covetous is something which you long, which you yearn for. All right. Grasping, rapacious. So rapacious is another word for that. Rapacious is eating greedily, right? So when you have intemperate desire to eat, that is rapacious. Rapacity comes for that, but rapaciousness also can be used for other kinds of greediness. All right? So rapacious, acquisitive, covetous, avaricious. All adjective used for those people who intensely want something. So here covetous can also be used in positive way, right? As I use this word for trophy, Oscar trophy, right? So becoming a CEO is a covetous dream of everyone. Something which is desired by everyone. When you work for an organization, you want to top the hierarchy. You want to go up in the hierarchy of the organization, right? So in the echelons of that organization, you want to touch the top position. So that's a covetous desire every employee or most of the employees who are ambitious have or harbor, right? So that way covetous can also be used in a positive way. Okay, so it's a beautiful picture of a rustic area or a rustic part of a country where there is enough greenery, a house designed in an old traditional way. Roads are not the roads are not there made up of concrete. You can still see animals like hen and other things which are quintessentially associated with a village, right? So you see this picture and the word that comes in your mind is bucolic, right? A rustic picture, right? It's where all the things which are associated with a village, with a countryside are, shown to you, bucolic. So connected with the countryside or country life. A stream winding through stately parks and bucolic meadows. Bucolic, anything which is related with countryside. He drank in the sights and sounds of the bucolic world around him, and for the first time in days felt relaxed, right? He was in the pastoral surrounding, he was in those rustic surroundings, and he felt relaxed in those surroundings, right? So no traffic, no horns, no concrete roads, no buildings. So it was just relaxing. They included bucolic poems in Greek. So here, anything which is related with country folk. Where do they live? She asked as we rolled up and down low hills by bucolic pastures. The other bucolic poems, so here again, country folk or country poems. Alright? So bucolic is pastoral, so rustic, rural, pastoral, country or countryside. All words coming for this kind of scene where you get to see your countryside. Right? So village, rustic, that kind of picture is bucolic. Alright, subversion. Right? So you see sprouting, you see sprout coming up. So to begin or to grow, to develop rapidly, right? So that is burgeoning. So population was burgeoning, so it was developing at a very fast pace. It was burgeoning leaps and bounds. So burgeon is to grow rapidly, right? A new wave of running clubs have burgeoned over the past decades. That means they have grown in the area, right? So burgeoning economy of some Asian nations like Hong Kong, Singapore, these tiger nations had burgeoning economy. They were burgeoning economy because they were developing in leaps and bounds, right? Rapidly, progressively. Manufacturers were keen to cash in on this burgeoning demand. So burgeoning demand, that means growing demand. There was a burgeoning demand for masks, surgical masks. There was burgeoning demand for ventilators. So a lot of countries cashed in on this opportunity to supply ventilators to those countries which did not have the technology to build them, right? So burgeoning demand for ventilators, burgeoning demand for surgical masks. So the head growths had begun to burgeon with violets and prime roses, right? So they are burgeoning, like the picture suggests, it's burgeoning now. The growth has started, it has spurted, right? So burgeoning economy, burgeoning problem of unemployment, growing problem of unemployment. So can be used in positive and negative way. The meaning is growing, developing. Spring up, shoot up, explode, bloom or blossom. Mushroom proliferate, right? So proliferate is to spread something far and wide. So proliferation of something, right? So mushroom is also something which grows rapidly, right? Institutes are mushrooming, coaching institutes are mushrooming in the city. So mushrooming is something which grows unchecked. So burgeon is for development and growth. Cacophony. So as the picture suggests, the man who is conducting this orchestra group does not seem to be in control of what they are producing, what sound they are producing, right? So here, the people, the part of the troupe or the part of this orchestra, do not know that the sound they are producing is very harsh, is discordant, right? And it's not, they are not producing any pleasant sound. So this kind of sound, which is harsh to hear, which is a kind of pain for ear, that is cacophony. Phone comes for sound. We did one word, euphony, symphony, right? Euphony, symphony is for melodious sound, mellifluous sound. Cacophony is for harsh sound. Okay? Cacophony of traffic, cacophony of horns. When sometime when you are not in the mood, that DJ sound can also be cacophonous. Alright, so cacophonous sound of DJ, cacophonous sounds of pop music. Sometime when you are not in the mood, you are depressed, you do not want to hear such songs, it looks or it sounds cacophonous. So any sound which is harsh and which does not soothe us. A mixture of loud, unpleasant sounds. A cacophony of bleats, chomping, and scuffling of hooves down out her words. So there was so much discordant voice that people could not hear her. Her thoughts were interrupted by a cacophony of squawking and wings. So the birds, or the chicken, which were making so many sounds, her thoughts were interrupted by these sounds because the cacophony of these sounds. The alarm clock that project the time, speaks the time, make animal noises, jump or fly around, create a cacophony of noise, and even make the tea. Cacophony of sound, that means it creates a lot of different sounds. Alarm clock may sound cacophonous in the morning, right? So when you are not in the mood to wake up, so it may sound cacophonous, alright? Sometimes cacophony is created in parliament when all members are speaking at the same time. They are speaking simultaneously. They are hurling abuses, they are name calling, all people shouting slogans at each other, right? So that is cacophonous sound where nobody can hear anyone, right? So you cannot actually understand what these people are trying to say. So that is cacophonous scene in a parliament, or maybe Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. All right. So cacophony is harsh, discordant sound. All right. The picture itself is yelling what it means or what it wants to show. So cantankerous is the word which is perfectly aptly defining this word. Often angry, always complaining, right? So when you show your anger and same time you keep complaining, you keep grumbling about things. That is cantankerous. Usually the word which is associated with old people, right? So old people who develop this habit of complaining about things, muttering, grumbling, being captious and nitpicking about things around them or people, that is cantankerous. Though it can also be used for those people who have this temperament, ill temperament, right? Usually come for old people, but any person who has this kind of temperament, who showcases this kind of temperament, is perfectly cantankerous. The cantankerous old piece of junk. Very derogatory, this sentence is explaining a person who is always complaining. Feeding and harnessing. The cantankerous mules wasn't exactly the highlight of her day. So, controlling those mules. Cantankerous, unruly. Here it is used for unruly. They can be downright cantankerous. So here those people can be extremely angry and complaining. Customers can be cantankerous, right? So when they are contacted by those people sitting in the back office and they keep hearing about their complaints, they can be cantankerous, right? Because their problems are not addressed, their problems are not resolved, they can be cantankerous. That means they can be extremely angry and complaining. Alright, the word synonymous with cantankerous will be bad-tempered, of course, irascible. Ire is for fury, anger. So with ire, now you have irascible. So irascible is somebody who is extremely grumpy all the time, showing annoyance and short-temperedness. Irritable, somebody who is easily irritated because he has that kind of short-temperedness. Grumpy, grouchy. All both these words, grumpy and grouchy, those people who have bad temperament, right? You feel grumpy in the morning if you don't take breakfast. You feel grumpy. Grouchy is also saying, grouchy is also complaining. All right, so cantankerous. See this picture, a woman yelling, shouting, showing her anger, and same time she is also abusing. Possibly she is abusing. So here cantankerous, complaining and shouting. Right. So you have a picture of a man facing acquisition, facing blame, facing fingers of others. So a lot of fingers are pointed at him and he is possibly, extremely annoyed by these fingers pointed at him. So carp is to keep complaining about somebody or something, right? Carp is verb, carping is adjective, right? So carping mother-in-law, carping boss, carping neighbors, right? So when you use carping as an adjective and you put noun before it, the person is defined as somebody who is always grumbling, complaining, nitpicking, right? So to keep complaining about somebody something in an annoying way. I have had enough of him constantly carping and criticizing, right? So these people are pointing finger at this man because they are not satisfied and they are grumbling about his performance, about his characteristic, his attitude, or maybe certain other things, right? So here, carping is adjective, carp is verb. Stop carping about the lack of facilities. Deliver, right? So stop carping here is to don't complain about lack of resources, but rather put in your effort and try to deliver. So carp on or carp at. These are two prepositions which can be used to carp on something, at somebody, or about something. To find fault or quarrel with someone constantly. Her husband decided to leave, saying that he could not stand her tendency to carp and constantly complain. Right? So he decided to leave her because she was always carping. The company has a huge or high turnover rate because the managers carp and fault find with all of the hourly employee. Turnover rate, that means the employees do not work for that organization because managers keep on carping or keep on finding fault, right? Jason's mother doesn't allow him to carp under his breath and grounds him when she hears him grumble and complain. So she wants to check whether he develops this tendency of carping about things. She takes a firm decision and grounds him, right? So here, whenever he starts carping, whenever he starts complaining, he is grounded. If you carp and quarrel constantly, you will find yourself alone with few friends. So this is one characteristic which you would not like to acquire, right? Because if you keep on carping, you may not have very good friends, or you may not have a lot of friends around you, because people do not like to be accused, right? Or people do not like to listen to complaints again and again. Alright? So carp is to complain, carp is to find fault, carping will be adjective. Right? So be clear with the usage of carp and carping. Chicanery. So you have a picture of a man who is holding a card in his hand, and with his deceptive techniques he's possibly trying to trick people there before him. Either he's playing cards with someone, or he's showing magic, or whatever he's doing, but he is playing some trickery with that card. Alright? So the chicanery is being deceptive, right? Chicanery is deceive people with your tricks. So the use of complicated plans and clever talks in order to trick people is chicanery. Biden, now this statement, I took this statement because this has come into limelight in the backdrop of American presidential election. So Joe Biden, one of the presidential candidates, said chicanery at polls is the only way he could lose US election. So he's so confident, he's so certain that people are going to vote against Donald Trump and he is going to win the election, that he says that only chicanery is going to make him lose this election. Right? So if there are free and fair election in America, he is not going to lose. Right? So he's pointing a finger at Donald Trump, possibly, and suggesting that he's not going to be extremely honest in conducting free and fair election in America. He's going to trick people, he's going to do something which is going to tilt the votes in his favor. Right? So he says chicanery at polls is the only way he could lose US election. Alright, so this sentence itself sums up the meaning of chicanery. धोखाधड़ी, trick, छल कपट. So that is what is chicanery. ठीक है? So कुछ ऐसा करना जो honest नहीं है. Something which is not full of integrity is chicanery. So the investigation revealed political chicanery and corruption at the highest level. Right? So these politicians were not honest. They did something deceitful in that, in that whole thing, and that was revealed by the investigation. Alright? So chicanery is trickery, deception, or deceitfulness. Trickery, deceit, duplicity, dishonesty. Right? So chicanery, we see a lot of pictures, like if you remember a scene of Badshah movie where Shah Rukh Khan is playing cards with one of his opponents, and with chicanery he wins that deal, right? So with chicanery, where he plays certain tricks with his members, and he wins that, So here chicanery is used, right? So chicanery can also be used in other ways, wherever you are deceitful. Okay, now look at this picture and see the man. The man who is trying to bypass the roadblock. So there is a roadblock, there is an obstacle. He possibly does not want to face these policemen deployed at this check, and he is bypassing that obstacle or that roadblock. So here he is bypassing the law. He is bypassing a security check. He possibly is having two suitcases which he doesn't want to show to these people what he possesses, what he has in these suitcases, and that is why he is trying to evade surreptitiously. Stealthily, he is, he's finding his way. So that is what is circumvent. All right. So whenever you see a roadblock, you see that there is a road jam, you try to circumvent your way, right? So you try to go from a way which is still possible to take you to your destination, right? So you circumvent. You circumvent law when you don't want to entangle yourself in the labyrinth of law, in the used procedural hassle, and you want to circumvent all those laws by finding the easiest way possible to do something or get something done, right? So income tax laws are circumvented. GST laws are circumvented by these businessmen, right? So in a way, they try to find some loopholes to evade these laws. So circumvent is to find a way of avoiding a difficulty or a rule, right? So they found a way of circumventing the law, right? Ships. Ships were registered abroad to circumvent employment and safety regulations. To avoid something by going around it, young people still want to circumvent their parents' control. I found it quite easy to circumvent security. Advertising restrictions are easily circumvented. Find a way around, evade, get, bypass. All these words will be synonymous. All right? Very quickly, let's see the word clairvoyant. So clairvoyant is somebody who can tell you what your future holds. A fortune teller is clairvoyant, right? So connected with the power that some people are believed to have to be able to see future events or to communicate with people who are dead or far away, right? In a couple of Indian movies, we have seen those people who can establish communication with those people who are dead, right? If you remember movie Talash, so there was a woman who tries to establish link between Rani Mukherjee and her dead son, right? So clairvoyant. So one, it is used for those people who can see future, who can foretell future, and those people who can establish link between the people who are still alive and the people who are dead, right? So they are clairvoyant. She was a mystique with remarkable clairvoyant powers and did great service as a nurse, a spy, and a scout in the civil war. So somebody who could see future, who could foretell future, and somebody who could link between dead and alive. Mums wasn't clairvoyant, but she was intuitive. So here, intuition, your gut feeling, which tells you that something is right or something is wrong, or which tells you that this should not be done because this will have negative or dire consequences. So your intuition can also work as a clairvoyant voice for you, right? So inside you, there may be a clairvoyant voice which tells you that this should not be done, something fishy is going to happen. A true clairvoyant is able to sense or feel what is going on beyond the physical here and now. All right? So clairvoyant ability, clairvoyant powers, clairvoyant perception. Seer is synonym. Soothsayer will be another word which is synonymous with clairvoyant, and oracle, right? So oracle comes from a temple where people used to go to see suggestion for their future, right? So from that, the word has come to signify any person who has this power to give suggestion for future, what should be done, what should be avoided. Soothsayer, financial soothsayer. So when you call somebody financial soothsayer, so he had the insight about financial situation, that this is going to work, this is not going to work. Political soothsayer, so somebody who has the insight and input about future of a political party, that this party is going to win the election, this party is going to lose the election, this candidate had bright future, this candidate is is destined to do. So that way, soothsayer can also be used in different ways. Financial soothsayer, political soothsayer. Oracle is again used for a person who can see what is going to happen in the future. Seer, who can see. All these words synonymous with clairvoyant. So picture perfectly depicts that this woman has these powers to see in the crystal ball and tell you that what is going to happen. Cogitate, word which perfectly depicts this man who is deliberating, right? A person who is brooding about something, right? So he's mulling over what he is going to do next, or what he's headed for, and what is happening in his life, right? So thinking deeply about something, ruminating about something in a deep, deep manner is cogitating. COG root word comes for your brain, right? Cognition, recognize, right? Incognito. All these words are with this root, that means that comes from mind or brain. So cogitate is to think carefully about something, right? जब किसी चीज के बारे में गहराई से सोचना and then take a decision is to cogitate. You were cogitating on some great matter. So that is, you were thinking about something. Cogitating the possible consequences of my decision. So thinking about what my decision is going to lead to. Cogitating on her career. She's thinking deeply about her career. Plans cogitated on what would be the right thing to do, right? So meditate, mull over, contemplate, ruminate, ponder over, all these are synonyms of cogitate, right? So remember COG, root word, this comes for brain. So a cognitive ability, your cognitive ability is the ability to understand things, right? So your cognition or cognizance is to take awareness of things, right? To be aware of things, take the cognizance of the problem. So that is, be aware of the problem. Recognize is to see something, is to able to identify something because you understand it, right? So recognize. Incognito, revealing your not revealing your ID. Incognito, traveling incognito, searching internet incognito. That means you're not revealing who you are. So not letting people know who you are. So COG comes for brain and knowledge, right? So cogitate is to think about something in a deep, deep manner. Confound, look at the man, see his reaction. He's seeing something on net or on his screen, and he seems to be baffled by the information he sees or the picture he sees. So he seems baffled, he seems perplexed, he seems confounded, confused. To confuse and surprise somebody, right? So that is what is confound. Confound is verb, confounded will be adjective, right? So he seems to be confounded by all the data that he saw on his screen. The sudden rise in share prices has confounded economists. So they were not expecting this. They are suddenly baffled how these prices have skyrocketed, right? So they are confounded. She confounded her critics by winning the race, right? So here she confounded, she surprised everyone, right? So that's also another meaning of confounded. So when you use this word, it's a mixture of both. You're confused and you're surprised. We were totally confounded by her reaction. We did not anticipate that she would react in this manner. So we were completely confounded, right? She confounded us with her reaction. We were confounded by her reaction, both ways. The inflation figure confounded economic analysts, right? So here, the inflation figures, which are highly fluctuating, right? So they have these figures confounded economist analysis, right? Amaze, astonish, dumbfound, stagger, surprise, startle. Startle किसी को एकदम से चौंका देना. Stun. I was stunned at his reaction. Stupefy, confused, right? These stupefying figures, these stupefying jargons, right? So when economists use jargons in their lectures, in their sessions, so it is so stupefying for me. So I cannot understand, I cannot make head and tail of what they are saying. So stupefying, it's so confusing for me. Staggering, right? Perplexing, something which you cannot make sense of. Astonished, right? हक्का बक्का हो जाना, confused हो जाना, चकित हो जाना, इन सब का मिश्रण है confound. All right? Okay? All right, so the picture itself is manifesting what it means to say, right? Perfectly embodies what this word is corpulent. So corpulent is fat, overweight, obese, right? So people, if you remember, we did one word with EU root, euphemism. So instead of calling somebody fat, instead of calling somebody obese, you call somebody corpulent because you want to avoid embarrassing situation of calling somebody fat. That term may be offensive, term may be outrightly rude, right? So you call somebody corpulent. Remember the actor or singer Adnan Sami earlier. Remember his picture. Try to remember the physical appearance he had earlier. He went that transformation and he became quite thin and healthy now, but earlier he was a corpulent figure, right? So corpulent is obese, fat, and this word is used as a sugar-coated way, as a euphemistic term for calling somebody fat. So he's short, somewhat corpulent. Children were a bit corpulent from too many years of privileged living. They were living in a very privileged atmosphere. They were given all things necessary, and that's why they became corpulent. A corpulent, elegantly dressed opera singer came out and sang. So here, a woman who was obese, right? But here, since you're defining a singer, you're not using fat or obese, but you're saying corpulent. All right? So this plump baby can be a corpulent baby because a lot of people do not call their babies or children fat, right? So plump is another word. Flashy because you get to see a lot of flash. Chubby, so chubby is very frequently used word for calling children who are extra fat, and obese. All right, so chubby, plump, flashy, and obese, all for somebody who is overweight. All right, one more picture very quickly sums up this word convoluted. So you have all these words, all these wires intertwined with each other. It's such a maze, it's such a mess that you cannot, disentangle them, right? So complicated is convoluted, right? So it's next to impossible to disentangle all these wires and, get single strand. So extremely complicated and difficult to follow. A convoluted argument, right? So the way he presented his argument was very difficult to follow. That means the way he presented his line of argument was very, very complicated. All right? Convoluted explanation. So explanation is supposed to be simple, supposed to be descriptive so that things are clearer to understand. But if it is a convoluted explanation, it rather complicates things further, right? A book with a convoluted plot. So there are different characters, there are subplots, there doesn't seem to be any climax, and then there are other plots entered. So it's a convoluted plot, right? So the story is not easy to follow, right? But it is a convoluted plot. I had to negotiate an amazingly convoluted one-way system. Though it's a one-way system, but it was itself was convoluted, very, very convoluted. All right, having many twists or curves, convoluted route when you go on mountains, right? So you have convoluted routes to follow to reach your destination, right? So they are not straight, they are not plain, they are convoluted, right? Convoluted wires here. A convoluted coastline which is not straight, but rather it is full of twists and turns. Intricate, elaborate, impenetrable, serpentine like a snake, right? So serpentine queues. So serpentine queues are like huge queues, long lines, but same time the lines are not straight. Labyrinth, so labyrinth of anything just intertwined with each other is labyrinth, right? So labyrinth of roads or labyrinth of hair, right? So that's intertwined. Tortuous is also same, or tangled, ulja hua आपस right? All these words synonymous with convoluted. Anything which is complicated and complex. So convoluted passage. When you see a passage which is very, very difficult to follow, where author does not follow a single argument, line of argument, but rather entangles different things. That is a convoluted passage, convoluted way of explaining things. Could be used for anything which is complex and complicated. Contiguous. You see the map of USA and Canada. So there is a one line which is demarcating one country from the other country, but they are abut. They are touching each other. Their borders are touching each other throughout whole area, right? So USA and Canada, their borders are contiguous, touching or next to something. The countries are contiguous. India and Pakistan are contiguous, right? India, China are contiguous, right? So their borders are touching each other. That is why we have all these clashes and disputes. So contiguous to something, contiguous with something. The bruising was not contiguous to the wound. So where wound happened, the bruising was not next to the wound, it was happening somewhere else, right? So it was not next to the wound. The contiguous state of New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and California, these states are contiguous, they are touching each other's border. Adjacent, we did this word, neighboring, adjoining, bordering, next to, right? Abutting is another word. Coterminous is, though it's an archaic word, still can be used for, those things which are touching each other. Coterminous boundaries of North Korea and South Korea, right? So coterminous. So contiguous, touching next to each other. We did this word earlier, adjacent. So it's synonymous with adjacent. Very quickly, let's revise the words we did using both the hands. Ambidextrous, right? So dexterous is skillful, ambi is for both. So ambidextrous is somebody who uses both his hands skillfully. Thinking about something in a deep, deep manner. Remember the word with COG root words? COG comes for thinking, it comes for brain, it comes for ability to think, to knowledge, right? Ability to have knowledge. Thinking about something in a deep manner, the word is cogitate, contemplate. Cogitate, contemplate, both are synonyms. Confounded is perplexed, is confused, is surprised, astonished. ठीक है, जब आप कोई ऐसी चीज देखें, पढ़े, सुने, जिससे आप एकदम से confuse हो जाएं, आप उसको समझ ना पाएं. So that is confounded. It also means हैरान कर देना, startle कर देना किसी को. Complicated, we just did the word convoluted. Convoluted argument, convoluted play, convoluted plot, it could be anything, which is difficult to understand. Fortune teller, so fortune teller is soothsayer and clairvoyant. Two words interchangeably used for those people who have the capacity to see future and who have the capacity to link between dead souls and people who are alive, right? So establish communication between dead people and people alive. Bypass is to circumvent, right? Remember the picture of a man bypassing a roadblock. There were two policemen deployed, they were chatting with each other, and the man took the advantage and he bypassed, he circumvented the roadblock, he circumvented the security check. Alright? Deception is chicanery, political chicanery. I gave you the statement of Joe Biden where he says only chicanery is going to make him lose election. Otherwise, he's confident, he's assertive that he's going to be the next president of America. Unless through some deceitful ways, Donald Trump wins the election. Deception. Unpleasant sound. So phone is for sound. Kake is for bad, right? So cacography is bad writing. So kake comes for bad. So cacophony is bad sound. Unpleasant sound. Noise, right? Rustic, rural, and bucolic. The word was bucolic. Perfect picture of pastoral life where everything which happens in village is shown. Yeah, bucolic life. A lot of people have their farmhouses in near villages to enjoy bucolic life, bucolic vision, bucolic scenery, right? Bucolic way of living. So that is, the rustic way of living. Friendly, this is the word we started today's session with, a fable. I hope you remember what amiable and amicable mean and how they are different from each other. Amicable is used for things, amiable is used for people. Congenial, congenital, right? So congenial is friendly, congenital is by birth. So we did two set of confusing words today with first slide. Hardworking is assiduous, diligent, assiduous, a person who is laborious, right? Who does not shirk his responsibility. Skillful, adroit. Maladroit for unskillful, adroit for skill, right? So maladroit is for a person who is incompetent, adroit is somebody who is adept. Greedy is avaricious. Avaricious is same as rapacious. Both words synonymous. Or a person who is acquisitive in nature, who wants to possess more and more things. Covetous is another word. Grow is to version, right? So you saw a picture of a sprout, you know, shooting up. So that is grow. Grow is to grow version is to grow rapidly. Fat, corpulent. Arrest is to apprehend. Apprehend had one meaning, arrest. Second meaning of apprehend was to understand something. Two conflicting emotions at the same time. That is ambivalent. I gave you this root both. Ambivalent is having opposite emotions, opposite feelings at the same time. Right? You feel sad, you feel good. You hate somebody, you love somebody. So that is ambivalent. I give you another word, ambivert. Somebody who is extrovert and introvert, who shows both tendencies of extrovertness and introvert. Daredevil is audacious, right? Somebody who shows uncalled for bravery, right? So that is daredevil. Audacious will be the word. Soothe is to allay, right? So allay, mitigate, alleviate is to calm somebody down, to ease somebody down. Outdated is anachronistic, right? So something which does not fit with the time and something which is not fitting as per the time, that is outdated and anachronistic. Pointing finger at each other, the word was carping. Carping or carp as a verb, carping as an adjective. Alright, so here we come to the end of today's session, vocabulary building with pictures. I hope with these pictures I could tell you the meaning as well as the usage of these words. But as I said, you will have to build further on these words, right? So you have to see their usage, their connotation, their forms. Like if I gave you the word avaricious, so how avarice is used, right? Avariciousness is used. So different forms of same word, how they are used, so that you feel confident about using them in your spoken and as well as in your writing, right? In your speaking as well as in your writing. So both ways, in order to feel confident, you will have to be thorough with their forms as well as their usage, right? So you will have to build upon this session further in order to maximize your, your acquisition of vocabulary. All right? Keep watching this channel, keep watching my video for more of such sessions for vocabulary building. Tomorrow, I'm going to have one more session for vocabulary building with GK and current affairs. So I'm going to take up a topic of GK and current affairs, which is being debated widely and which is being discussed widely across all the channels, across all the platforms. And with that, we will try to learn some words. So with those topics, I guess it's going to be more contextually fitting to learn these words. All right? Thank you very much.